7. Can we please have a roll call?
Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Farrelly.
Here.
Councilmember Osborne. And Councilmember Thomas.
I make a motion to excuse Councilmember Thomas and Councilmember Osborne.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, presentations. South Lane Connection Phase 3. Oh, hang on. You gotta do a motion to approve the agenda. Sorry.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Okay, now number 4, presentation. Sorry, I'm just trying to make up time. Somebody over there.
Thank you for having us here tonight, and thank you for your patience as we got our screen set up. My name is Jennifer Jones. I use she, her pronouns. I'm here with my colleagues who will introduce themselves in a little bit. But we're here obviously to discuss South Lake Connections. We were last before you on February 24th of this year, talking about phase 2 of this project. So tonight we're going to cover sort of the feedback that we heard in phase 2, how we did or did not adjust the network, and then what we'll be doing in phase 3 for the South Lake Connections project. And I will pass it to Christina to introduce us.
Hi everyone, Christina Gonzalez. I'm a Senior Community Engagement Planner. Looking forward to sharing more information with you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Geary. I'm the Transportation Planner at Metro and also the Project Manager for South Lake Connections. Go ahead and get us started if you want done. So we have a lot of information in these slides, and hopefully you all have a copy for your reference. We will be moving through things pretty quickly just for the sake of our allotted time. But to start us off, this is some background information on our project scope. We are considering changes to 22 routes within Metro's network. These were selected because of their proximity to one of their future Link Light rail stations that are part of Sound Transit's Federal Way expansion. We have a very large project area, and so we're working closely with all jurisdictions, and we're very happy to be here tonight as well. Taking it back to our first phase of engagement, where we really wanted to understand gaps in the transit network. We worked with our advisory boards to really understand that information and land on 5 priorities to guide our changes. So these are greater transit coverage, better early morning and nighttime service, the ability to travel faster, better east-west connections, and better weekend service. So this is really the basis for the changes that we made. The changes that we made off of that were in the phase 2 network, so our first draft of service concepts that we brought out to the public over the winter. We've taken some time to really understand what we heard in that engagement and make updates to the network. And we're calling that our phase 3 service proposal. So right now we're in our phase 3 engagement. We're out in the community sharing how we've responded to engagement. And then after this period closes at the end of August, we'll be taking some time to finalize the plan, and then it'll go to the King County Council in spring of 2026. All of this is leading up to a fall 2026 implementation of our proposed changes. Pass to Christina.
Thank you. So if you have it on your screens in front of you, we had online engagement, 2,700 online survey engagement specifically. We were out doing community events. We were doing governmental presentations, like we shared earlier. We were out at transit stops, excuse me. We also touched base with our bus operators. We wanted to get their feedback as well and see, they drive the routes every day. What is the feedback that they have? And we were out in community tabling events. We flyered in over 45 locations. We worked with over 200 organizations doing email outreach, and then we specifically worked with some community-based organizations to do culturally and geographic relevant engagement. And so we did get 844 comments around that, and we hosted 3 informational sessions. Now, local engagement. So we recognize and we love that the community van and that the 197 are metro services here in Algona. Although neither were part of the Southland Connections project, we wanted to see what is the nearest route that Algona residents may use. And so we focused instead on the nearest route, which was Route 181. And so for Route 181, we sent out multilingual texts, emails, alerts, flyers in nearby locations, including Green River College and multiple places in Auburn. Connected with the Auburn School District. We did street teaming at Green River College as well as the Auburn Transit Center. And my colleague shared, we were here in February sharing information with you as well. All right, what did we hear in phase 2?
Thanks, Christina. So this slide has some general results at the network level of how people felt about our initial proposal. So over on the left, we have the overall support for the network. I would say that the overall support was relatively higher compared to other mobility projects that we've done in the past. So about 70% of people saying they felt either positively or neutrally about our proposed changes. Over on the right, we have a chart where we also asked people if they felt that we were meeting those 5 prioritized mobility needs. Again, we have some higher scores. There are some opportunities for improvement on our east-west connections, improving travel times, and providing even more coverage. This gets into a little bit more detail at the route level. I think we found the results of this question quite interesting because it really showed us what was successful in our initial proposal and where we want to continue to invest and what needs a second look. So proposals that have really high approval ratings included the 181, the proposed new Route 164, and 183. And that wasn't all that surprising to us because those are routes that provide east-west connections, where we're proposing new frequent service and also new days of service where they currently don't exist. There were other proposals, including our peak-only routes, and as well as our proposed MetroFlex pilot zones that had a little bit less or lower satisfaction ratings, and so that told us that we needed to take a second look at those proposals. And for MetroFlex, which is kind of a newer service within Metro's suite of mobility options, where you can, within one zone, call for a ride and get connected to the larger transit network. Since that that also told us we need to do education about these services to let folks know how to use them and what they are. So taking all that into account, this slide here has our network highlights for this new iteration of the proposal. So we're using resources from removed peak-only routes to be able to enhance the all-day, all-week travel. And this includes, again, that frequent service on those 2 east-west corridors, including Route 181, brand new days of weekend service, trying to make service easier to understand, trips that are running earlier, later, and more often, and that includes 47% more trips on weekdays, 61% more trips on Saturdays, and doubling the amount of trips that we're providing on Sundays. And of course, those resources need to come from somewhere, and so we're reinvesting the resources from the removal of peak-only routes that are listed here. 9 of those are suspended and have been since our COVID response, and 2 are routes that are currently in service that have rider alternatives, so other services that folks may use.
The suspended routes, how long have they been suspended?
Going on 5 years, some of them, because of our COVID response back in 2020. So diving a little bit more specifically into what was changed between our first proposal and what we're bringing out to the community now based on feedback. We're proposing even more trips throughout the week with 77 more trips proposed compared to our first proposal. We also made some adjustments to proposed MetroFlex service in response to feedback, really concentrating on weekday service and providing more hours of service on that. And in order to fund those improvements, one of the trade-offs is that we are proposing the removal of an in-service people route, the 162. There's alternatives to that route, and so we figured that was a better use of the hours and responsive to the engagement that we heard. There were some things that we didn't address at this time. We did hear the desire to retain peak period bus service between the project area and downtown Seattle. Because we're working with a cost control budget, we know that we need to make difficult trade-offs. And the resources from those removals are used to invest in the priorities that the community identified for us. And we know that Link Light Rail will connect riders to downtown Seattle. We also heard the desire for additional increased coverage. We are planning to increase coverage with our proposed Metroplex zones. We did look at what it would take to increase coverage even more, but that would require either deviating our current routes, which would impact people who are using them today, or creating new routes that we just don't have the resources for right now. But we are committed to retaining the feedback that we've heard and continuing to refer back to it should additional resources become available. Yes, focusing specifically on impacts to Algona residents near the city of Algona. I do want to, as Christina mentioned, Route 917 does serve the city of Algona. It isn't part of the South Link Connections project scope, so there aren't any changes proposed to that route as part of this project. It was part of the Renton Kent Auburn Area Mobility Plan, which was implemented in 2020. And as part of that project, we did add brand new Sunday service on that route. We also increased the weekday frequency, and we extended service half an hour in the evenings on, I think, every day of the week for that route. So I just want to share that there's no change to that, but we did invest in that quite recently. And then the Route 181, which we recognize that folks in Algona may use to connect to the larger transit network, to get to Federal Way, to get to Auburn. That route, I'll move actually to the next slide, is proposed to have 15-minute service on the weekdays, and we also added more hours of service, so having it start earlier and end later than today. So we're hoping that because this is an important east-west connection that serves so many parts of our county, that a lot of people will benefit from the changes on this route. And with that, I'm going to turn it. Oh yes.
What is the route of 917?
Yes.
That's okay. Just a little. Okay. Well, it was a corner down, so
It's not permanent.
I heard that.
Thanks for taking
I haven't been on a bus in 40 years, so I'm trying to figure this out. Thank you.
Ask us all questions.
And I'll turn it over to Christina to talk about our phase 3 engagement efforts.
So, similar to what we've been doing before, we have a website, we have another survey, it's a very, very short survey. We have flyers, and they're available in the 15 languages that are listed on your screen. We're continuing to do public outreach, community meetings, events. This is the time for farmers markets. We're in a lot of farmers markets right now, continuing to engage with our bus operators and talking to people at bus stops. I believe that we've shared our social media campaign and toolkit. And if not, then we can make sure that we're sharing it. And again, really appreciate all of your support in helping us engage with your residents as you are more closely connected with them and their needs. And we have completed one virtual information session, and we have one more taking place on Wednesday, August 20th at 6 o'clock. And Nicole and I go much deeper into all of the routes and answering community questions. And I have shared that we partner specifically with a few community-based organizations to help us do culturally and geographically relevant engagement. And we're working with 2 new organizations, African Careers and African Young Dreamers Empowerment Program International. So they're helping us doing engagement on our behalf. And in case you're wondering how cities can get involved,
We're here to tell you, as Christina mentioned, you should have the communications toolkit. It just has easy graphics and social media content if you want to post that to the city website or newsletters, or to your newsletters or social media. And let us know if there are any events that you think we should attend by August 31st. We would love the participation of city staff and a partner review board. We've had about 4 meetings. We'll probably have 1 or 2 more. And if you ever have any questions, you are always welcome to reach out to my supervisor, Emma Brown, who's our local jurisdictions lead, or myself, who support her on our local jurisdictions team. And with that, I'm happy to take more questions.
Do you have any data on number of Algona riders currently?
I don't know.
Because I don't know if there's a way to tell.
Like specifically on, like the 917. I don't have that off the top of my head, but we can pull ridership data and we're happy to share that.
and then it's a question on the particular bus or anybody that identifies that they're a resident in
I just wondered how many people, you know, are using the buses
the
that,
bus system.
and then it will benefit possibly from the 181.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, where does the 181 go now?
Yeah, so the 181 goes from, thanks, Timothy. It starts over in Twin Lake at its westmost extent, and then it goes through Federal Way to downtown Federal Way, goes over to Auburn Collection and Auburn
So the route
Station.
isn't changing, just the times.
Correct, and how often it comes. So we're putting even more service on this because it's so low used. I don't think we'd be able to know exactly, like, you know, the number of people who board on the bus from Algona, because we don't collect that type of information, but we know that this is a very low use bus connection. And it connects to Green River College, which we know is important for students, it's a job site, and all that stuff.
Then you have like, you listed the numbers for your engagement, like 27, 78 online surveys and all that kind of stuff. Do you know how many people are in this project area?
Oh, not in the project area. Sure he can, yeah, I don't recall off the top of my head, but.
Because sometimes that number sounds high, and unless you say there's, I don't know. I'm just curious about kind of how that ratio is.
There's a lot of people, it's a very big project area, which is why it's so important for us to get the word out.
Yeah, and so some people we know, they enjoy doing online surveys, and then other people, that's not necessarily like how they get feedback, and so that's why we work with community-based organizations, so that then they're meeting people where they're at. So we have folks that have gone door to door, that's part of like their service, other hold gatherings with food, and then they're collecting feedback in that way.
And I think if we compare the number of people who have taken the survey to the number of people who lived in the project area, it'd probably be a very small percentage, just because transit ridership is a lower percentage than people driving cars, that's the reality. But hopefully with some of the investments we might make, we hope to see that number increase.
And then when you were on your survey results, you had some sense of positive and negative comments. Were those just like, you know, rate our service from 1 to 10, rate, I mean, what were those questions, like, you know?
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to ask you, what were the
Yeah, so,
biggest negative comments and the biggest plus comments? I just don't know if you have.
oh, the
No.
biggest.
Like, what was the thing that people liked the most, and what was the thing they disliked the most?
Yeah, so for the most part, people love expanding service, having more time, right? People don't wanna wait, they would like to wait as less time as possible in waiting to get to wherever their destination is. And then their scope, and then those 5 priority areas, we identified phase 1 as high needs. So people definitely also wanted like weekend service, and they wanted, what we know also from our other work is that, particularly after COVID, people have changed the way that they use the bus system, so they don't just want to use it to go to work. they want to visit family, enjoy locally, community events and community centers. Yeah, or football game.
That opened up my question. First thing, the light rail in Federal Way is going to open around 4th December, so they said. Is that, am I truthful?
That's what we've heard.
You don't have any more information? Okay, that's fine. Your, project is not going into effect until 2026.
Yeah.
But if the light rail is going to be sooner than that, and my question sits around about the football games, because it would be great to have a way to get from Algona to Federal Way and back during those times, and some of those times was really late at night, like last week's game, I got back home at midnight. So, I'm just questioning, and I take the light rail, I take the light rail from Angle Lake, so I drive to Angle Lake and then drive back down. But anyway, so whatever information you can.
Well, one, thank you for using public transportation. Appreciate that you use it to use the games. And I think I could share that our goal is to be able to have the service by the time of the games arrive.
Yeah, to answer your question, we know that there's a bit of a gap between when the Federal Way Link extension will open and then when our plan is going to be in effect. And as part of our project, we are hoping to expand the hours of service on the 181, so hopefully that will get folks from Algona, if they connect to the 181, somewhere say at Auburn Station, to Federal Way and be able to use transit a little bit later. In terms of what we're doing, if the Federal Way Link extension opens so far in advance of our project, we are looking at smaller changes to make sure that we're at least connecting into those light rail stations on day one, or soon after, as soon as we can, really. But in terms of our larger project, we do need that to go through King County Council approval.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, it's a long process.
I think, the Sound Transit executive wants it to be, because he was formerly in King County Council, so I'm pretty sure it'll happen.
And we look forward to it. We just, there's a new transit center at the, I don't know if you've seen yet, the transit center at the Federal Way Link Station now. But we are very much looking forward to the opening. Originally, it was gonna be about a 6-month delay of when we would make our change. It'll be a little bit longer now, but, you know, hopefully a year from now, we'll have much more access and such.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, it's fine, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thanks for your
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Item 5, discussion. No discussion items. 6, audience participation. The city council encourages public participation during meetings of the city council in Long Beach County. It's time set aside for you to speak to the city council on any issue. The council ordinarily takes non-agenda matters under advisement before taking action. You are also invited to comment on action items as they are considered during the meeting. Individual speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each when addressing city council. When addressing council, please speak clearly, audibly, state your name and address for the record. We have anybody online? Anybody in the audience? Okay.